Hi guys, Mr. Jaeger here, and welcome back to the IAE day number 8, and today we are working with Drake Interplanetary, as you can see by this very fancy and very dark and brooding logo intro. So as you can see on the map as well, it's only one room today, which I'm genuinely surprised at. I kind of thought we'd have enough ships to be able to fill out 2 rooms, but apparently not is the case, which is, I guess, is kind of good for us, because that basically means the episode is going to be fairly quick. I say that, you know me, I tend to ramble on with these particular things, but in the interests of time, efficiency, and also the fact that I'm recording this fairly late into the evening, I probably will try and ensure that this episode is efficient as well as entertaining. So, without further ado, let's get started. So, Drake Interplanetary, a company with a mixed reputation, unfortunately not all of it good. So, the in-game Star Citizen lore is, and I would say kind of also a mixture between player lore as well, is that Drake Interplanetary is famous for its very cheap ships. Very cheap, very affordable. But this also means that everyone jokes about the Drake Interplanetary ships being held together with duct tape, and that when it comes to reliability, the ships are not exactly well known for this particular facet. But another thing that Drake makes Drake Interplanetary a bit of a dodgy subject within the realms of the law and the public sector is that a lot of Drake Interplanetary ships ends up in the hands of pirates, and they're not always stolen. And it's gotten as bad as to the point that one of the CEOs of Drake Interplanetary, before she was fired, basically stated that she didn't care who bought the ships, so long as they bought the ships. And of course that meant that the company has basically she basically more or less admitted that we're selling to pirates, which of course is a very bad thing if you're working, you know, if you want to look good in the eyes of an intergalactic empire that's being attacked by pirates. So yes, not too good. One of the ships you may have already seen that in your travels flown by a pirate or Nine Tails or whichever particular gang is this thing. This is the Drake Buccaneer, one of my favorite vessels in the Drake Interplanetary lineup. Basically, it is just 2 concepts. One is I want speed. The other concept is I want firepower. And some genius thought, let's put these together. It is a very awesome vessel, and I think it is an extremely nice fighter to choose from and also fight with, because, you know, it's a Drake Interplanetary. It's so cheap you could probably send 10 of these for every 1 F7 Hornet the UAE could have. Oh god. Yeah, no, it's pretty much what you see is what you get, which is a very nice concept when it comes to it. I've even got the bloody wiki out to try and showcase some of the weapons and capacities of this particular vessel. So what is the main strength of this vessel is you've got 2 very large engines, which produces the maximum speed of around 1200 to almost 1300 meters per second of speed, which is freaking awesome. And then you have the firepower. On the weakest side of the thing, you have these 2 size 1 Gatling repeaters on a fixed wing. You then got 2 size did I say size 3? So 2 size 1 Gatlings, and then in the inner wing you've got 2 size 3 Panther repeaters on a fixed wing, and then just because, you know, fuck it, you also have a size 4 Gatling gun on the top as well, and it's the fucking Devastator, the Revenant Gatling, you know, the big meaty man. And then, because why not, you thought, let's have some missiles as well. You've got 4 missiles, 2 of which are known as Tempest 2s, which have a cross-section tracking signal, and then you've got 2 Ignite 2s, which has 2 infrared signals in terms of how missiles work. I'm not 100% familiar in terms of Star Citizen which concepts work, but guessing from experience and other things, infrared obviously tracks more for like heater signatures, whereas a cross-section kind of looks across the whole thing and goes, right, you're the target, you're not. So I'm sure loads of people who are like the veterans of PvP are just all immediately face-palmed, but I don't care. By the way, if you hear any weird kind of blustery sounds or any kind of weird things going on in the background, there is a rather nasty storm going on at the time of this recording, and I'm having a semi-panic attack over the fact that I've had to leave my car outside in it. I'm slightly angsty on that, so if I suddenly go quiet when there's a massive gust of wind, I'm just having a minor panic, so don't worry. Anyway, back to the video itself. It's more just because of the noise, but anyway, I'm rambling. So, this is the interior cockpit of the Drake Interplanetary. Unfortunately, it doesn't. It has really good MFDs, but unfortunately, it fails the test because as you can see, the MFDs don't all, and they have lots of MFDs, but they don't all, they're not all within the same visual pages, which is a bit of a shame. But oh well. But the thing I actually quite like about this cockpit is it's very reminiscent of like 20th century fighters. You've got like a compass, you've got all these very basic, very utilitarian concepts. I mean, look, all these little flip switches and everything just to be able to turn on weapon shield systems and whatnot. It is a extremely cheap and cheerful ship in total. But there we go. It's pretty much, that's it. You can tell by the frame as well that there's not really a lot of stuff protecting you from the outside, and that kind of goes for the whole ship, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, so the Drake Interplanetary Buccaneer, the main strength in terms of defense is its shield generators. If it loses its shields, it's dead in the water. And if you're going with this particular vessel and it's stock, yeah, you can get one tapped easily if the weapons are powerful enough, and if it's like a ballistic, because holy shit. So yeah, no, the Buccaneer, it is a very beautiful vessel, but it's a glass cannon in every aspect of the word, including the bloody. It's pretty much glass cannon on, can't speak. It is a glass cannon. I'll just end it with that. It's a glass cannon. So moving on from the glass cannon to a completely different cannon, we are introduced to the Drake Herald, which on the official wiki, the fandom wiki, its role is considered a medium data, which I can only account for which is basically it is a data transfer ship. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, the concept of this particular ship is that, and we'll hop in. Unfortunately, there are loads of players about who are running amok because they have to be. Yeah, Drake Interplanetary is quite a popular line of ships. I'm going to open this thing so people can just, get in without making too much noise. So the concept of this particular ship is that it is designed to receive information such as data science, research, geographical locations, expedition calls. All of these particular things are all of these particular things is what this vessel is going to be utilizing. It's going to be receiving, sending, and holding on to data, maybe even to the point where a particular person could perhaps send very important data files, or maybe it's reconnaissance from a particular front line, or perhaps it's like a really good location for a base but no one else knows about it, that sort of thing. And these particular interesting where there's no keypads, but maybe they're like holographic. And so the point of this ship is that it's designed to be basically put into a position where it can gain the signals, relay and everything, and it then sort of transfers the information and then gets the fuck out of Dodge. It has a very, very, very big engine at the back, but I'm just going to have a quick look at the just showcase the cockpit. As you can see, the MFDs on this are actually pretty okay. You've got all of the different MFDs along to the middle, and it does pass the test, which is really nice. But again, it's very simplistic construction design. It's very open as well, which is pretty cool, actually. But yeah, it's a very simplistic sort of ship. Unfortunately, there isn't really much use for it. It's kind of similar to the MSR from the Crusader, where it doesn't quite have enough functionalities for use. But it's still pretty cool. And as mentioned, it has a very big, two very powerful engines, which allows it to get the fuck out of Dodge if ever something goes wrong, which, it might do. So apart from that, what exactly else does this thing have? Well, it does have a couple of size. It has one size. What size? Yeah, so it has a size 2 Gatling, which is on a gimbal, it would seem. So you could probably get a fixed size 3 Gatling gun, which isn't too bad. And then there's a size, technically this is like a Panther repeater, so I think they probably have to, this is probably like a size 1 on a gimbal. Yeah, it's a size 1 gimbaled, so you can have a basically size 2 fixed if you wanted, and Panther repeater, and it also has, does it have them on both sides? Yeah, it has them on both sides, and it has like 4 size 1 missile, or 8 size 1 missiles as per for its defense, but it really is not a fighter craft. It can survive, maybe, but it's not designed to fight, obviously. As we make our way across the room, we are presented with 3 very impressive looking ships, and 1 very determined walker who just wants to get through. He's just... He's going to make his way all the way across. Bless him. So we are introduced to the most famous of Drake Interplanetary ships, if probably not one of the more famous vessels in Star Citizen, which is of course the Drake Interplanetary Cutlass Black. Now the Cutlass Black has multiple variants, which we will go very briefly into, as we've kind of gone all over these things in previous things. I think I even went over them in Invictus Week, so if you want to have a look further down the playlist on Star Citizen, you'll probably find them there. So I won't go too far into details to keep up the pacing, but I will briefly talk about them nonetheless. So, the Drake Interplanetary Cutlass Black, what's so special about it? Well, the Cutlass Black is pretty much the most versatile, pretty much every kind of use you can think of in Star Citizen, this ship can probably do it. Cargo transport, fighter, personnel transport, vehicle transport, piracy, obviously, and most likely if you put some other special components in, so maybe data hacking or whatever. Like, this vessel is so universal. It is what makes it's probably the big earner in Drake Interplanetary, and is the vessel that you will have undoubtedly encountered both as a law-abiding citizen and also the non-law-abiding citizens. So there's mainly only one way you can get into this vessel, which is located at the back of the ship, with possibly one of the worst ramps, in my particular opinion, and one of the reasons why I find this to be a very difficult vessel to combine with the ROC, because if you don't take 100% care and attention, you will fuck up and you will bugger the back of this ship in the process. Apparently this vessel is due for a rework sometime down the line, but we've yet to see that yet. So, you know, I don't know if that's really going to come within the next year or maybe sometime further down the line. But anyway, going into the back of the ship, you are presented with a very much blank canvas. You've got a few seats that you can sit down to keep your crew all right. You've got 2 very large cargo doors, which you open and close via these little doors here, as you can see. And I have seen during the Xeno threat, I saw like video footage as well as I even saw a couple of guys doing it from one of my very limited amount of time playing it. They used this was very useful for when we were just trying to transfer stuff from from space into the ship as fast as possible, which is pretty cool. So going on into the docking, the main bridge area, this particular zone is a little bit weird because there's this nice big open, like, dead space, and there's absolutely nothing else to utilize in it, which is weird. There's of course the two bays for the beds. You've got the turret, which we'll go into weapons in a second. You've got a co-pilot seat here, and of course the main pilot seat here. So I'm just gonna take off like so, and voila. So one of the big bonuses about the ship is that this does pass the MFD test. All of the MFDs are in the front, and in terms of visuals, you actually get quite a decent amount of view looking around in the verse, which is pretty cool. And you also have a nice amount of view to look down from. Another benefit of this particular ship is that she is VTOL capable, which means she makes a very decent ground vessel when it comes to like going into Atmo. She's very, very fast as well, I won't lie. She has got some really good things about her. I'm not one of the fanboys of Drake Interplanetary, so I won't just keep singing its praises. You know, it is a pirate vessel. It can be blown up. It is not my favorite. As again, it's one of those vessels that I think there is many flaws, and why I don't really agree with the pairing up of the vessel, the ROC, and the Cutlass Black, which I did talk about how that the ROC and the Cutlass Black was siphoned together as kind of a special pack for you to play with. And while the pricing is all right, the ship in question is not, because as you can see, the ramp is at a very odd angle. It pinches itself near the rear of the thing. It's just not that great. But anyway, so in terms of armament, you may have already noticed there's a turret on the top, and as we will see by the specifics, we are going to have, for the pilot, you'll be able to utilize 2 size 2 Badger repeaters, which I believe are on gimbals, because it also, you've got the hard point, so as it says on the hard point side, it's like a size 3. So for those who don't know, in Star Citizen, if you put a gimbal on a particular hardpoint, let's for example say size 3, you have to go a weapon size down in order to attach the weapon onto it. So in this case we have size 2 laser repeaters. Now if you want to sacrifice the benefit of the gimbal is that you can actually have a much wider cone for the weapon to track, rather than having it specifically pointing from the front of the ship. But of course the downside is you lose out on DPS, so if you do want to remove it, you can take out the hard point and simply replace it with a size 3 laser repeater. And it's the same thing with the 2 Scorpion size 2 Gatlings as well. You've also got a number of size 3 missiles, about 4 of them, and you've got 2 times 4, so like, and also what looks to be 2 Tempest 2s as well. Both of them are cross-section. So this thing has got a pretty decent amount of armament. And then on top of that, you've got the turret with 2 size 3 Panther repeaters. So this particular vessel is designed to drop things in and possibly provide fire support if and when necessary, which is pretty cool. So, and as an orphan as well, and if you haven't already seen, this thing has been utilized quite a bit by the pirates as well. So, yeah, not so good. But Drake Interplanetary says, "Don't worry, we're going to make you make you like us." Why? Because look, this vessel, the Drake Cutlass Blue, it is nowhere near piracy. Why? Because it's a police ship. So this particular vessel, the unique traits about it is that there's the wind saying hello. Yes, hello, wind. The main difference between this ship and the other Cutlass Black is that this ship has a few prisoner pods, as well as an EMP weapon on board that allows you to disable your opponent and force him to, you know, surrender or not, depending on how you want to go about it. So there you go, a couple of bounty pods. And what probably was the most popular ground mess vessel for medical reasons, for clan reasons, but now sadly probably has lost its place due to the new medical system, is the Cutlass Red. So the Cutlass Red used to be a ship that you could respawn on, and it was very, very popular. A lot of people loved this ship. I liked this ship. I even owned this ship for a time. And the main reason why most players had it was because you could set your respawn on this ship, meaning that if we were doing any kind of clan-related activity, you know, Org v Org events and all that jazz, you could instantly revive. Any players who would die would simply revive on these beds and go straight back out into the front. Well, obviously now, since they've changed things up with their new medical system, that's not so much the case. In this particular mission, in this particular case, this particular vessel now is actually doing what it's meant to be doing as an ambulance, where you basically put the patient onto the bed and keep them stable until they are taken to a hospital. And this particular variant, with its empty thing, doesn't really have, that's pretty much all it has now. It's no longer the respawn thing, so I don't know if there's that many people who are probably going to be keeping this vessel, but still, it's Drake Interplanetary's desperate attempt at trying to be a little bit more popular, which, yeah, good luck. So, standing behind me is the last vessel in the big room before we head downstairs. And, well, to be honest with you, most people would have recognized this thing, and this vessel almost needs no introduction, but I'm going to give one anyway. This is the Drake Interplanetary Caterpillar. So, what exactly is so famous about this ship? Well, the big factor is that this, for a very long time, was one of the largest cargo transporter ships in the game. It was only until the introduction of the Hercules did this ship's majestic title be ripped from its head and planted firmly on the head of the Hercules. So, a bit of a sad story on that one, but it is still a pretty applicable ship. It still has a very high amount of cargo, so if you are a fanboy of Drake and you want to have the ability to enjoy these things, then it's still a pretty good ship. You'll still earn a decent amount of profit, but it won't be as much as a Hercules. Another thing that is also kind of true about this thing is that this vessel kind of needs multi-crew, because as you can see, judge as the size of the vessel, it is very easily possible for someone to basically sneak aboard the ship and then, without you realizing it, sneak into your cockpit without you noticing and plant you one in the back of the head. So if you were going to be a serious cargo trader, then this particular vessel would need, if you were really being serious about it and you were having problems, then yeah, you would need an actual crew to dissuade any potential violators or invaders. So, as you can see also by the way that these particular pods coming out, it's kind of designed as a major modular system, with each particular cargo pod containing a number of units, which the total max amount ranges up to 564 SCUs worth of cargo. Another unique factor about this ship is that the command module, which is this big fuck-off thing with all of the different weapons on board, is actually meant to be able to separate. One funny story actually was that a band of pirates and ne'er-do-wells had basically raided a vessel by ramming the cargo, ramming a caterpillar into the side of a yacht, and then when they were finished, you know, stealing all the cash and taking all the money, they basically detached the command pod and flew away, leaving the other vessel to be pretty much stranded and in desperate need of help. Not the most happiest stories that Drake Interplanetary probably want to hear on their record, but hey ho, you know, good story is a good story. So as you can see by the habitation access and the absolutely terrifying toilet or almost lack of perception, if it wasn't for the fact that we could see these clearly shutter doors here, it would feel very much not. Yeah, you would be pretty much terrified of going to the loo or shower here. But still, it is very basic bitch. It is a transporter vessel, and it's not really designed with comfort in mind, as you can see. So you can have access to the cargo bay in one of two ways, on the ground or up above in this particular ladder, which we will have a look at because we will just have a quick little peek-ski. So as you can see, this particular thing is designed. You go through all of these different modules, and eventually we get to the front of the ship, whereupon you can have access to not only an engineering tablet, but also have access to one of the turrets. Now, the defensibility of this vessel, if we have a look at the armament, is we've got two turrets housing size 4 Rhino las repeaters. It also has a tractor beam as well, but it's not non-functional at the moment, sadly. And the only other thing we've got is a couple of size 2 gimbaled M5 and M4 laser cannons, which is designed by Bearing. So there is the access to the turret, and here is also the ability for you to put in atmosphere and deploy and all that jazz. Also another fun story about this vessel is, in terms of gameplay, is that, though I've never personally seen it myself, is that you could there were occasions where players were able to put actual ships inside these particular bays if you had the ship layout like such, and you can actually turn this into a sort of makeshift carrier. So to a degree, the Caterpillar has probably got a number of prestigious titles, from cargo transporter to ground vehicle transporter to aircraft carrier, and probably a number of others. But as we make our way towards the command module, which is also fun, yeah, I won't lie, this ship has probably the most confusing and very awkward navigational system. Like, you could easily get lost in this ship if you're not careful. Oh bloody hell, the wind's picking up. Ooh. But yeah, so the command module is kind of interesting. As you can see, there's a fair amount of different sort of segments. If you enter in onto the pilot seat, which to be fair isn't too bad, it's got a very big thing to it, and it's probably one of the only ships in the game that you actually have an offset nature to, which is actually kind of cool. MFDs, as you can see, are all passed. Well, they just about passed the test, where all the MFDs are on the front. I like how there's a giant lock button in the center. That's cool. But anyway, so in terms of views, it's not too bad. This thing is very, very slow in flying, but it's, again, not a bad thing, and it's also in-game purchasable. I don't know if the Hercules is the same. I'm going to quickly Google this. Okay, yeah, so the Hercules is in-game purchasable as well. So fair enough. Fair enough. But still, it's probably a little bit more expensive than the Drake Interplanetary, so, you know, there is that to tell. And of course, as you can see, because this is a command module, if you follow me, so when you want to detach the command module and have a few beds to yourself, here is, of course, the ability for people to sleep in this particular segment. This is probably the one that you're most likely going to want to be in for most of the duration, because obviously it's the commander module. It's the thing that allows you to not get fucked if the ship gets attacked. You can pretty much detach the cargo and get the fuck out of Dodge, which is in my particular book, a pretty strong pro point. Anyway, so let's make our way out of this particular vessel. So the Caterpillar is a ship that, I mean, I'm not much of a cargo transfer guy, so I'm not overly fussed about this ship. But at the same time, if I ever do go into cargo transfer, I will always remember that this ship is not, sadly this ship is no longer the #1 in terms of cargo size, so its applicable nature is probably something that we're not really going to be able to enjoy too much. But at the same time, I think for any enterprising player out there with a desire to relive the old days of this being a ship being a very powerful vessel in that regard, or a vessel in its own unique right, it's still a, just because it's not the largest cargo capacity ship in the game doesn't mean that there's some things that this ship still can't excel at. So here we are on the basement level, whereupon we can see the 3 very popular and probably one of the most famous skimmer bikes in the game, the Drake Interplanetary Dragonfly. So these particular vehicles are probably, in my opinion, the best skimmer vehicles in the game, if skimmer vehicles were working. Sadly, they're not. They are very dodgy. I mean, I say they're not working. They do function, but in comparison to how well they used to function, these things are almost broken at that point. So the main appeal of these vessels is that you can have one driver, one passenger, and these things have 2 shotgun canister style size 1 weapons, which of course you can change around and improve and change the components of. But the shotgun canisters actually work out really well for this thing, because a good pilot can basically run circles around your opponent and potentially fuck them over in more ways than one, which is pretty cool. Not a lot really else I can say about it. I've never really driven too many skimmer bikes, but I have seen them in action in Clan Org v Org, and I can tell you now, a good Drake Dragonfly pilot can do dangerous things with these vehicles, so don't ever count them out. Anyway, as we make our way towards the holographic display, we are given, of course, the Drake Interplanetary's future vessels, which I'm going to go from the left side. I often go from the right, but I'm going to try and be more left on this occasion. Only time I'll ever do that. So we are presented with a number of vessels for the future, the first one being the Drake Corsair. Now this vessel is basically the hopes and dreams of Drake Interplanetary, taking on ships like the Carrack. And as you can see, we're quite far down the line of we actually are quite far down the line in terms of design and in the grey box, as you can see. Oh, hello. I'm not going to lie, as I've looked at this vessel, my initial skepticism and doubt have kind of given way to slight optimism. It's not a pretty ship, but that doesn't have to be, not all good ships need to be pretty. They just need to work, and Drake Interplanetary is all about getting shit to work. So, in that respect, this Drake Corsair does look very fun, and once this particular vessel is released, it will be a very good contender for probably the #1 spot in comparison as an expedition craft, because at the moment that title is being held by the Drake Carrack. Drake Carrack, my god. Anvil Carrack. My god, if Drake Interplanetary made the Carrack. But anyway, so no, in my particular opinion, I like this vessel, and I would be very curious to see what it could do when we finally see it out in the verse. I'm very certain a few machinima guy style videos will come out of it, if machinima was a thing. Sadly, it's not. So moving on to the next thing, which is, of course, this vessel is kind of a bit of an interesting style. This, of course, is the Drake Vulture. So the Drake Vulture is a salvaging ship, and it already looks like we've already hit, we're almost at that point where this vessel could come into its own. This is probably going to be the basic bitch introduction ship that we will have when salvaging becomes a thing. And I am looking forward to that, because I do like the concept of being in a salvage vessel. I like it's almost no different to mining. So this vessel will basically have in the lower compartment the salvaging machinery, what have you, and then the flyer on the top basically gets to enjoy a nice cup of coffee whilst he's salvaging everything. And for those out there who've enjoyed a few space MMOs in the past, you're no doubt convinced that this vessel looks fairly familiar. It is. It looks like the Venture, doesn't it? The mining ship that was in EVE Online. Now, I'm not entirely sure how, I don't know the official story, so don't quote me on it, don't hit me on it, but I think the official thing in the lore about this is that people were saying, this ship looks like the Venture, and apparently CCP Games looked and went, yeah, we're fine with it. And there you go. So, sure, I think. I could be wrong. I might be wrong. I'm fairly certain I am wrong, but that's the story I heard. So, if it is the case, then feel free. If it isn't the case, then feel free to correct me. But that's the story I heard. But anyway, more importantly, this ship is going to be about salvage, and it's going to be all about utilizing this ship to, trying to give the player the ability to introduce themselves into salvaging. This is basically the prospector for MISC when it comes to mining. Now, of course, salvage is the most famous thing to not be in Star Citizen, and it is the request of many a player. We are due to receive it at some point in the future, and I think once we do, this ship will be one of the #1 vessels we'll be utilizing in order to collect salvaging. Now, of course, I've saved my absolute favorite till the last, which of course is the Carrack. This is my end goal. This is the one reason why I want Star Citizen so bad. Oh, they've added colors to it and everything, you bastards. So, the Drake Interplanetary Kraken is fucking beautiful. I love it. Oh, just look at the detail. I don't care that some of it's a bit textured. I want more. I want everything. So what exactly is the ship? Well, it is a carrier. A player-controlled carrier. A carrier that will be utilized to be basically it's the largest vessel I think would be flyable by our players. At least, the largest carrier star. I mean, I don't care if it isn't the largest. It's fucking huge to me, and I love it. This is my dream goal. I want to one day own one of these vessels. Oh, he even has the lights now. Oh my god. So what's the unique thing about this thing? Well, the fact is, as you can see, if we jump up a couple times, there are a number of open top hangars, which, if we open up a little bit here, I will try and sort of zoom in as decent as well. They really do need to add like a couple of fucking steps or something so you can look up into it. But basically, this ship has a number of open top like landing pads for you to land into, as well as a couple of hangar bays for you to put stuff into, and it's really fucking cool. This also serves as a kind of frontline outpost slash what have you, and it looks fucking awesome. I love it. I want it in my life. It is super probably expensive though, which is annoying. But no, this vessel looks absolutely beautiful. I want it. It's my it's my dream goal. And one day I will have this vessel, and then I will say my time in Star Citizen is complete, and all of the effort I've had played, all the effort we've made waiting for this ship to come out, it'll be worth it in my opinion. There's another cool thing about this ship though, is that this vessel is also going to be, that there is also another variant of this vessel known as the Kraken Privateer, which is where they basically you take a number out of like its cargo bay, and instead you turn it into a marketplace, as well as sort of turn it into a secret marketplace as well, making this whole vessel a sort of outpost which you can probably plant in on different segments in the verse, which I really like. It's maybe not something that is going to be very common, but I think it's going to be really fucking cool nonetheless. And it's a fucking giant carrier vessel. Everyone's going to love that. So guys, there you have it. That's pretty much it for Drake Interplanetary. We've got one day to go. That's one day. Oh god, already we're coming up to the end of the IAE, which is really depressing. I mean, we have got a couple of extra days following that, but obviously for me, tomorrow is the last day I can record, which really sucks, but at the same time I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you want to get into this game, which I thoroughly recommend you do, this game has its flaws, there are some memes about it, but the one thing I will say more than anything is that every time I hop into this game, while it may punish me, I still fucking love it. There are moments where I see the sun rise over Microtech, I see my game, the refining process whenever I mine, the fun I have with my friends when doing it. That makes it all worthwhile for me. But yeah, I hope to catch you in the next episode, which is of course going to be MISC and Industrial and Concern, which I can never pronounce their name properly, so we'll just stick it at MISC. So I will hope to catch you in the next one, guys. This is Mr. Jaeger signing out.